Can you believe there's a place where even talking about money is a serious taboo? Welcome to the hidden world of Cuba, where 16 shocking taboos will completely change how you see this incredible island. From forbidden foods to the unspoken rules of daily life. In this video, we're pulling back the curtain on Cuba's secret underworld, things you'd never imagine exist. Make sure to subscribe to Eagle Discovery to explore the unique aspects of countries all around the world in our upcoming videos. Watch this video till the end, because what you're about to discover will make you question everything you thought you knew about this tropical paradise. 1. Talking about money. In Cuba, discussing personal finances is more than just a casual faux pas. It's a deeply ingrained cultural taboo. The Cuban government, which has maintained tight control over the economy since the 1959 revolution, sets the tone by managing wages and prioritizing equality over individual wealth. This means that conversations about income or financial status are not only rare, but also actively avoided in everyday life. Such discussions can be perceived as boastful, insensitive, or even dangerous, given the economic hardships that many Cubans face daily. The existence of a dual currency system further complicates matters, creating stark economic disparities between those who earn in convertible pesos, CUP, typically through tourism, and those who earn in the much less valuable regular pesos, CUPI. For many Cubans, openly talking about money brings these uncomfortable differences to light, which can lead to social tension, jealousy, and even isolation within communities. What country are you from? Is personal finance a topic that's openly discussed where you live? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please share with us. 2. Elder care and nursing homes. Family is the cornerstone of Cuban society, where deep-rooted cultural values place an immense emphasis on intergenerational loyalty and respect. In this context, taking care of elderly relatives at home is not just a choice, but a moral obligation. The idea of placing an elderly family member in a nursing home is often viewed with suspicion and seen as an act of neglect. This strong aversion to nursing homes reflects a broader societal expectation that families will care for their elderly, integrating them into daily life and ensuring their dignity and well-being are maintained. The stigma attached to nursing homes is so powerful that families who consider this option may face harsh judgment from their peers, who may view it as a failure to uphold traditional family values. Instead, multiple generations often live together, sharing responsibilities and resources in a way that strengthens familial bonds and reinforces the importance of community care. Placing loved ones in nursing homes is seen as a matter of moral obligation not just in Cuba, but in many countries. How is it viewed where you're from? 3. Criticizing the government. In a country where the government exerts extensive control over nearly every aspect of life, publicly criticizing the government is one of the biggest taboos and one of the most dangerous actions one could take. Since the establishment of the communist regime, freedom of speech has been heavily regulated, with the state controlling all forms of media and stifling any form of dissent. This has created an environment where citizens are extremely cautious about what they say in public, avoiding political discussions altogether to evade government scrutiny. For tourists, the advice is clear: steer clear of any political debates to avoid legal trouble. When political conversations do occur, they are typically whispered in private settings, fostering a pervasive culture of caution and secrecy. The consequences for those who are caught spreading anti-government sentiment can be severe, ranging from social ostracism to imprisonment. This taboo not only highlights the challenges of governance and human rights in Cuba, but also underscores the fear and repression that still exist under the surface of the island's vibrant culture. 4. Religious expression. Cuba's relationship with religion has been fraught with tension, particularly during the early years of the communist regime. After the revolution, the government implemented a policy of atheism, leading to the seizure of church property, the expulsion of priests, and the severe restriction of religious practices. Public displays of faith were discouraged, and those who openly practiced their religion faced significant discrimination. Wearing a cross, for instance, could mean the denial of membership in the Communist Party, limited job prospects, or even social ostracism. Although these restrictions have gradually eased over time and religious practices have become more visible, the old taboos surrounding religion linger, particularly in professional and educational settings where public expressions of faith can still be met with criticism. The gradual acceptance of religious expression mirrors the shifting dynamics of Cuban society as it continues to navigate the delicate balance between its secular state and the spiritual needs of its people. 5. Beef consumption. In Cuba, beef is not just a type of meat. It's a tightly controlled luxury that most citizens can only dream of. The government's strict regulation of beef consumption means that this food is reserved primarily for tourists, state-run institutions, the elderly, and those with special government permission. For ordinary Cubans, slaughtering cattle without permission is illegal and can result in severe penalties, including imprisonment. This has led to the emergence of a black market where beef is sold at exorbitant prices, far beyond the reach of the average Cuban. In a country where food scarcity is a daily challenge, beef becomes a symbol of the broader economic struggles faced by the population. Social events rarely feature beef, and when it does appear, it's often viewed as a status symbol. The high demand for beef has led to creative and clandestine methods of obtaining it, with the black market becoming a reflection of the desperation and resilience of those seeking to provide for their families. The taboo around beef consumption is not just about food, it's a politically charged issue that highlights the stark contrasts between the privileges afforded to tourists and the realities of local life. 6. Food waste. In a country where food is often scarce and rationed, wasting food is not just frowned upon, it's a deep cultural taboo. The Cuban government's strict rationing system, a legacy of the economic crisis that followed the collapse of the Soviet Union, has instilled in the population a strong sense of resourcefulness and conservation. Since the early 1960s, Cuban families have received limited amounts of basic food items each month at subsidized prices, and under such constraints, every morsel is precious. Wasting food is seen as a grave offense, both irresponsible and disrespectful to those who struggle to feed their families. This attitude is so ingrained that it permeates all aspects of life, from households to social gatherings, where leftovers are commonly taken home. Cuban families pride themselves on using every part of their ingredients, a practice that showcases their ingenuity and resilience. Respect for the farmers who work under challenging conditions, with limited resources and economic sanctions, also contributes to the disdain for food waste. Discarding food is viewed as a direct insult to their hard work and the hardships they endure. The taboo against food waste underscores broader themes of survival, efficiency, and the communal spirit that is central to Cuban identity. 7. Mental health stigma. Mental health is a topic that is often shrouded in silence in Cuba, where discussions about conditions like depression, anxiety, and other disorders are avoided due to significant social stigma. For many Cubans, admitting to having a mental health issue is seen as a sign of weakness, leading individuals to suffer in silence rather than seek help. The stigma attached to mental health issues is so strong that it can prevent people from accessing the care they need, exacerbating their struggles and further isolating them from their communities. This taboo extends to sexual and reproductive health topics as well, particularly when it comes to issues like STIs and HIV/AIDS. Despite the availability of healthcare services, societal norms discourage open dialogue about these topics, especially in conservative or rural areas. The intense stigma around HIV/AIDS in particular leads to discrimination and social isolation for those affected, deterring them from seeking timely treatment. Chronic illnesses such as cancer, diabetes, and heart disease are also rarely discussed openly, often perceived as reflections of poor genetics or lifestyle choices. This avoidance can delay diagnosis and treatment, further complicating health challenges. Similarly, disabilities are seldom talked about, leading to isolation and limited support for those who are affected. Substance abuse, including alcoholism, is another area where silence prevails, hindering recovery as individuals fear being judged by their community. Discussions about obesity and weight are also sensitive, particularly in a country where food scarcity makes these topics even more private. Although Cuba's healthcare system is robust, these cultural stigmas significantly undermine its effectiveness. Addressing these barriers is crucial for improving public health and ensuring that all Cubans receive the care and support they need. Eight, LGBTQ+ rights. Cuba's history with LGBTQ+ rights is complex and marked by significant challenges. During the early years of the revolution, homosexuality was not just taboo, it was actively and harshly suppressed. Those who identified as gay were often sent to forced labor camps, and any public discussion or expression of homosexuality was strictly censored by the government. This era of repression left deep scars on the LGBTQ+ community in Cuba, and although homosexuality was decriminalized in 1979, the road to acceptance has been slow and fraught with obstacles. Over time, attitudes have begun to change, largely due to the efforts of advocates like Mariela Castro, the daughter of Raúl Castro, who has been at the forefront of campaigns for LGBTQ+ rights in Cuba. Her work has helped to increase awareness and push for legal protections, including organizing the annual Cuba Day Against Homophobia. Today, there are more protections in place, and growing acceptance for LGBTQ+ individuals is evident, particularly in urban areas. However, challenges remain, and the taboo around homosexuality has not entirely disappeared. Public displays of affection between same-sex couples, while more common now than in the past, can still attract negative attention, especially in conservative or rural areas. The government has started to support some LGBTQ+ rights, including gender reassignment surgery and anti-discrimination laws, but social stigma persists. This ongoing struggle for acceptance reflects broader shifts in social norms in Cuba, where traditional values often clash with emerging ideas of equality and individual rights. 9. Inquisitiveness. In Cuba, being too inquisitive, especially about personal matters, is considered not just rude, but a breach of social etiquette. This cultural norm has its roots in the country's history of surveillance and political repression, where asking too many questions could be misconstrued as espionage or dissent. In a society where privacy is often scarce due to shared living spaces and the close quarters many families live in, maintaining personal boundaries is crucial. Politeness dictates that one should not pry into the lives of others, as doing so can be seen as disrespectful or intrusive. This has led to a communication style in Cuba that often relies on indirect language and nonverbal cues to convey messages, with people avoiding direct questions to prevent discomfort or confrontation. In professional settings, this tendency is even more pronounced, as discretion and subtlety are valued over bluntness or assertiveness. While younger generations may be more open and direct, the traditional values of discretion still hold significant sway in Cuban culture. This communication approach underscores a broader emphasis on community harmony, respect for individual privacy, and the importance of maintaining social cohesion. 10. Cutting in line. In a country where scarcity and rationing are part of everyday life, cutting in line is more than just a breach of etiquette, it's a serious social offense. For many Cubans, waiting in line for basic necessities like bread, bus tickets, or even household goods is a common experience. And the concept of orderly queuing is seen as a matter of fairness and collective responsibility. Disrespecting the line, or la cola, by cutting in or holding a place for someone else without clear communication, is perceived as taking an unfair advantage over others who are also in need. This behavior disrupts the community's sense of solidarity and equality, which are central to Cuban social values. When joining a line, it's customary to ask "el último," a way of identifying the last person in line to find your place. Ignoring this protocol is seen as cutting in line, a serious social faux pas that can lead to public reprimand or confrontation. Even showing impatience or frustration while waiting is considered disrespectful, as patience is highly valued in Cuban society. The respect for lines extends across various public spaces, from grocery stores to public transportation hubs, and reflects broader cultural values of fairness, community responsibility, and respect for others. 11. Rejecting a gift. In Cuban culture, rejecting a gift or favor is deeply offensive and can be seen as an insult to the giver. This stems from the high value placed on interpersonal relationships and community bonds, where gifts are not just tokens of appreciation, but symbols of goodwill, solidarity, and mutual support. Accepting a gift, even if it's something you don't necessarily need, is a way of acknowledging the effort, thoughtfulness, and kindness of the giver. Gifts in Cuba are often reciprocated, though not always with material items. Instead, they may be returned through acts of mutual assistance or other forms of support, reinforcing the importance of community ties. In a society where resources are scarce and people often rely on each other to get by, giving is considered a duty and a sign of respect. Rejecting a gift disrupts this social harmony and can be interpreted as a rejection of the relationship itself. At social gatherings and in daily interactions, Cubans ensure that gifts are accepted and appreciated, reflecting their ethos of sharing, solidarity, and community cohesion. This practice not only strengthens social bonds but also emphasizes the cultural importance of generosity and reciprocity in maintaining the fabric of Cuban society. 12. Community participation. In Cuba, community participation is not just encouraged, it's expected. Refusing to take part in community activities, such as local festivals, street parties, or neighborhood projects, can be seen as stepping away from the collective spirit that is so integral to Cuban life. These events are more than just social gatherings. They are opportunities for collective achievement, cultural expression, and the strengthening of social bonds. Music, dance, and traditional foods often feature prominently in these celebrations, providing a sense of pride and identity for the community. Not participating in these activities can be interpreted as a lack of concern for one's neighbors and local traditions, which is heavily criticized in Cuban society. This taboo against disengagement highlights the emphasis Cubans place on solidarity and the importance of maintaining strong, supportive community networks. In a country where resources are limited and people often have to rely on each other to overcome challenges, being an active part of the community is not just a social expectation, it's a vital component of survival and well-being. 13. Mocking Santoria. Santoria, a religion that blends African spirituality with Catholicism, is a cornerstone of Cuban culture and plays a significant role in the island's identity. Mocking or dismissing Santoria rituals is considered profoundly disrespectful and can alienate people, showing a disregard for their beliefs and cultural history. Santoria, brought to Cuba by African slaves, involves the worship of orishas, or gods, who are believed to guide and protect believers in their daily lives. Rituals, offerings, dances, and ceremonies associated with Santoria are widely respected, even by those who do not practice the religion. This respect for Santoria is a reflection of the broader values of religious tolerance and cultural integration in Cuban society. Disrespecting these practices, whether through mockery or ignorance, is not only offensive, but also seen as a violation of the social fabric that holds the community together. The endurance of Santoria, despite historical challenges such as slavery and colonialism, highlights the resilience of cultural traditions in Cuba. Central to the faith are the eos, personal taboos that dictate behavior, diet, and lifestyle, as advised by the orishas. Adhering to these taboos is crucial for spiritual well-being, and ignoring them is believed to bring spiritual imbalance and negative consequences. (14) Public intoxication. While Cuba is famous for its rum and vibrant nightlife, public intoxication is viewed very negatively and is considered a serious breach of social norms. In Cuban society, there is a strong cultural expectation to maintain decorum and respectability in public spaces, and drunken behavior is seen as disruptive to this social order. Public intoxication can lead to legal trouble, as it's not only socially frowned upon, but also considered a threat to public order and safety. The stigma associated with public intoxication reflects a larger cultural emphasis on personal responsibility and respect for others, even in festive settings where alcohol is often present. In Cuba, there is an expectation that individuals will drink responsibly and maintain control, showcasing their ability to balance enjoyment with social decorum. This broader social norm around alcohol consumption and public behavior is part of what defines the Cuban approach to communal living, where respect for others and the maintenance of public harmony are paramount. 15. Hoarding goods. In a country where resources are scarce and rationed, hoarding goods is not just frowned upon, it's a major cultural taboo. This practice is seen as selfish and harmful to the community, which often relies on shared resources to survive. Hoarding exacerbates shortages and prevents others from accessing basic necessities, which goes against the collectivist ideals that are central to Cuban society. Legally and socially, hoarding is prohibited, and there is a strong moral expectation that individuals should only take what they need, leaving enough for others. The stigma against hoarding reflects Cuba's emphasis on fairness, mutual support, and the common good over individual gain. In a society where survival often depends on the cooperation and generosity of others, hoarding is seen as an act of betrayal to the community. Public discussions about hoarding can highlight these inequalities and disrupt social cohesion, making this a sensitive topic that is often avoided in everyday conversations. For many Cubans, hoarding is a desperate survival strategy in the face of unpredictable commodity prices and economic instability. Criticizing or even discussing it openly can be perceived as insensitive or accusatory to those who are simply trying to navigate difficult economic realities. 16. Discussing emigration plans. Talking about plans to emigrate or praising life in other countries is fraught with tension in Cuba, where such conversations are often seen as acts of disloyalty. Emigration can be perceived as a rejection of Cuban life and its government, making these discussions risky and potentially attracting unwanted attention from authorities. In a country where national identity is closely tied to the revolutionary values of the state, the idea of leaving for better opportunities elsewhere can be controversial and socially sensitive. As a result, families who are considering emigration often discuss their plans in private, carefully guarding their intentions to protect their social standing and safety. This taboo reveals the deep tension between national identity and the aspirations of many Cubans, who dream of a better life abroad but remain connected to their homeland. The sensitivity of this topic underscores the profound challenges and dreams of those living both at home and in the Cuban diaspora, where loyalty to one's country often clashes with the hope for a brighter future elsewhere. As we wrap up this eye-opening journey into Cuba's secret world of taboos, it's clear that this island holds far more than meets the eye. What do you think about these surprising cultural norms? Have any of them changed how you view Cuba? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration. If you enjoyed the video and want to uncover more fascinating insights from around the world, Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Your support means everything to us, and we can't wait to take you on our next adventure.